How's it going, fellow Kryptonians? Welcome to a brand new Superman and Lois Season 2 video. I thought since we are literally less than a week away now from Season 2 Episode 1 premiering, I thought, well, let's do a little bit of a discussion series video going into the new season, based on the trailer that we've got, you know, some questions that come out of that. Who is the main villain? What can we see happening in Season 2? All of that good stuff. So I got you guys to submit some questions. This will be a nice little nerd out as usual. Just kind of, I guess it's a little bit of a companion piece going into that new episode of Season 2. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if a trailer drops around the time I'm uploading this, because I've been expecting like a final trailer, if you know what I mean, for Season 2. They've only really done one proper trailer, so just in case that does magically drop tonight, don't worry, I will be covering it at some point. I just might not be on top of it right away. But before we get into the first question, guys, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel so that way you are up to date with every week's episode review and breakdown. I will be doing that week to week, obviously. And if you do go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate just a little thumbs up. It does help out a lot more than what you probably know, because the algorithm just eats up the likes and comments. So yeah, don't forget to comment as well. But first question's from Zach Alexon, saying that since Natalie somehow arrived on this Earth, that means the multiverse is still in contact with the Arrowverse, despite every other show ignoring it. So, Boba, do you think the main villain of the season could be the black suit Superman from Natalie's Earth? And then the latter of your questions about what do I think of Naomi, I haven't really delved too deep into that. I still have yet to check it out, so honestly I don't really have much of a comment about the Naomi CW TV show. But as for the black suit Superman, I would say no. I don't think he's going to be the villain. I think that would be, just kind of way too, not necessarily easy, because obviously they would still have to write a good story for a Tyler Hoechlin villain version of himself. But no, I just don't think they're going to do a villain like an alternate Superman. I think that's just a bit basic for this, even though he was a threat on the other Earth. And technically, you could argue that he could have come through with the portal. And I think this pertains to a few of your other questions later on in this video. With Natalie coming through, could somebody else have come through? Now, again, I don't think that would be the black suit Superman. I think the Superman and Lois writers and Todd Helbing, the showrunner, want to create something a bit more sophisticated than just a black suit Superman villain. For example, you know, we've got some military things going on this season, the government kind of colliding with Superman since General Lane has stepped down a bit, even though he is finding retirement quite hard, and the lure to be in somewhat of the know and control again, calling him back again and again. So it looks like General Lane will be stepping into a bit, maybe back into the military side of things. Who knows, really? But the multiverse is definitely still in contact. I mean, if you just take the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, like, we know that is the case. For example, even in Stargirl, technically hasn't ignored it, even though I don't think the logic is mega sound with the way that they're keeping up consistency with the post-crisis continuity. For example, Stargirl was on Earth 2, but we also had the Flash's Jay Garrick, played by John Wesley Shipp, in flashback episodes of Stargirl Season 2. Now, the reason why I say that doesn't make all the sense in the world is because post-crisis, Jay Garrick, John Wesley Shipp's Jay Garrick, is no longer on Earth 2. He's actually a part of Earth Prime. And if you guys understand the post-crisis continuity, it's one of those things where it's like, it's always been this way. So for Jay Garrick, John Wesley Shipp's Flash, to also have flashbacks on Earth 2, it kind of is a bit confusing. Do you know what I mean? But technically, if you don't want to get too specific about it, they are acknowledging it like that. Plus, I think Jeff Johns and Brett Bassinger, who plays Stargirl, even commented about how they were looking into, and possibly doing at some point, an actual crossover with the Flash TV show. So it is still out there. I think they're just focusing a little bit more on their own stories for now. Now, Joel says something that I basically forgot about, that I'm honestly more curious about Lucy Lane, because this is literally her first reappearance since Supergirl Season 1, and I kind of liked her during that time. And yeah, that's one of the Supergirl seasons I did watch, and I agree. So knowing that the show has really good writing, I'm up for Lucy becoming an even better character, as well as her dynamics with her family post-crisis. I do agree, and I wouldn't be surprised if, considering if that's how long we haven't seen her character in the Arrowverse, that there could be some subtle changes in direction and tone of her character when introducing her in Superman and Lois. That wouldn't even necessarily be a post-crisis change. It's just been a while since we've seen her. But, you know, she could be stepping in a little bit more because General Lane has stepped down. But as I said, the CW Network channel on YouTube, we're uploading quite a few interviews with the actors behind the scenes. And as I said, the General Lane video, he talks about how, yeah, he's trying to fish and take some time off, but he's finding it hard to do that. So I think with Lucy Lane coming into the picture, and if I remember correctly, in Supergirl, she was like a military officer as well, so she could be filling a little bit of her father's shoes whilst whether he goes back or not. I do feel like she's an interesting character in of herself. Like, Lois very much so has done things, even though General Lane has come around a lot more, especially by the time of Superman and Lois, around to the idea of being with a man who's super and what that brings, and the national security threat all of this can bring. I feel like Lucy have both feet on both sides of the fence, view her father's angle on things, or the military side potentially, and then also the Kent family side. And this will be quite important, because if Lucy Lane is still very much so military status or whatever, well, with the somewhat political military discourse going on between Superman and the guy Anderson that we've got coming into this season, who wanted Superman on his team, it's like, I just wanted your allegiance, and Superman like barks back saying, that's because I don't need to, because I gave it to the world a long time ago. There's going to be a bit of that stuff going on, and if tensions rise up even more, Lucy could be handy in that situation. So I'm wondering, yeah, regardless, I'm looking forward to Lucy Lane, but I was just trying to get into what they might be doing with her character a bit, and I'd love to see some of your suggestions based on maybe what I just said. Alright, so Michael Castillo asked something which I feel like surely has to be in it. It's going to be dodgy if this does go down, though. So, do you think the kryptonite weapons could come into play this season, especially since it seems the new military head, Anderson, and Superman will clash often? So, this is where I said it could get dodgy, because if I remember correctly, those Superman weapons, the kryptonite weapons that were developed by General Lane, and, you know, always just in case of a backup, am I remembering correctly that Clark didn't actually want them destroyed? I feel like when General Lane said he was going to do away with the whole project and things that he was preparing, I feel like Superman may have changed his mind, which means that the arsenal could still be there. And it makes sense. Like, I do think Superman and Supergirl, just like way back in Crisis when she let Ruby Rose's Batwoman have the kryptonite still, you should always have it there just in case you do go rogue. It's always a possibility. There should always be a contingency for a hero. The issue with the military, though, is usually, to Superman's displeasure, is they have an abundance of kryptonite that seems a bit unnecessary. The arsenal, like, fair enough having some kryptonite to take him down in a Batman kind of style way, but why have such a plethora of, like, kryptonite arsenal there? So yeah, as you're saying, it looks like we're gonna have Anderson be a bit of like and this is what I liken some vibes I sense for this season, and I'm not saying it's going to spit this image from Marvel or that it's going to copy and paste, not at all, but I do sense some kind of US agent-esque vibes from what the government is trying to formulate together versus Superman now being a liability. And if they clash continuously, then I wouldn't be surprised if they make Clark look like the bad guy, almost like Cap America on the run or something, even though I don't think it's going to go to that extent. That's very dramatic to have the Superman to be really like blacklisted by not only the government, but publicly. That would be a bit messy, but it could come out as a cool story at the same time. But regardless, for them to assert their own force, who knows? I really don't know, but I don't think this Anderson thing's going to go well at all, especially now that General Lane, for now at least, isn't in the fold. Like, he's stepped down, so a new guy's come in, and he's got his own idea. I believe, if I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, he doesn't like people not really being under his control, and obviously Superman is his own entity. He works with the government, he works for the people of Earth, that's where his allegiance is. But this guy had a stick up his arse, so to speak, just because he wouldn't swear his allegiance to him. So you can already see wherein the problem lies. Just looking it up again, Anderson resents the fact that Superman exists outside his philosophy and will attempt to bring the Man of Steel under the DOD's authority. Like, that is, like, this is what I mean. Some people, I can sense some people might not like this from the face value aspect of it, because this will get into a bit of, like, authority politics and things like that. But it is still always a really relevant Superman story to tell, because he is the Superman. He is such a big thing, and even like the Snyder films got into this, I don't see what film can't really get into it. When you have a man like that, you have a government, and this isn't just a vigilante like Batman or Green Arrow, this is the Superman. Like, how does he come under an authority? Okay, so if he doesn't, do we work alongside him? But then it's a bit dodgy. That's kind of unprecedented. What kind of guidelines and regulations are there for that? So this is where I think it's going to go. But with that, we'll always come the situation of people rubbing each other the wrong way. And that's probably going to happen. Mr. Getaway says, I still wonder if and how John would get powers. Could it be that he gets powers through a serum, or will he get them simply because of genetics? I do think that John, it's so hard because I originally thought, and I still do think this stands a little bit, if you rewatch the scene where he stops his brother from punching that guy, that yes, the scene slow-moed down, yes, his arm broke, but it almost looked as if they were deliberately, very subtly hinting through the visual effects that he was able to do that, and that little tiny, almost blast wave that came from it was indicating that he had, like, for example, Jordan has, like, X amount of 40% power levels, but Jonathan is only at like 1%. Like, he only just got on from 0 to 1% in that moment to do that. So I'm not saying that he has got outright Kryptonian powers coming through in season 1 or even now. It's just that I do feel like they have subtly hinted at how it is there. It's just that Jordan has got a bit of a head start, you could say. But I do feel like they're going to keep going the like father, like son thing with Jordan and Clark, and like mother and like son with Lois and Jonathan, because I do feel like they've probably got it into their heads, the showrunner and the writers, thinking, okay, so we probably are going to get to the power stuff with Jonathan eventually, but maybe we should capitalize on how, we've got 2 supers in the family and 2 people who aren't supers, so at face value, how is that as interesting as the super people? But that's where they think we need to make these characters just as interesting. We need to make the audience really care about Lois just as much as they do about Clark, the Superman. And, we need to make people care about Jonathan just as much as they do the potential Superboy like Jordan. And I feel like they've already done a really good job at that in season 1. Like, for example, you don't have to just be superpowered to enjoy Lois Lane's story, if you know what I mean. And I feel like Jonathan, with the little tidbits they gave us when he was trying to help John Henry Irons work on the steel suit this season, I feel like they're going to get a little bit more into that. He was handling a bit of weaponry. He could be getting to know his technical multiversal sibling sister Natalie. Maybe he gets along with her since they won't be superpowered, and he could help learn some mechanic-y kind of stuff with the steel suit with her because she helped design it. I do think they're going to go down that road a bit more before Jonathan actually starts blossoming his powers for the first time. There's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if he never gets them, but I almost feel like it is an inevitability. It's just a matter of a growth spurt with him. It's just that Jordan's already got there, genetically speaking. That gene is just kind of cracked open, whereas Jonathan's could have. It's just that 1% to 40% analogy I gave earlier. So Elena Lopez says, I'm wondering how they're going to deal with the Natalie situation and what's next for Jordan, since I heard he might be thinking about telling Sarah about his powers. Have they, maybe there's an article out there I haven't read where they maybe have alluded to something like that. So with the Natalie situation, I think it could be fairly straightforward, but you never know until we see the episodes, and where I don't think she's going to be too happy about her father flying about with Superman. She's going to, like, that was in the trailer, but I think she will, at the end of the day, know that, okay, this Clark, this Superman isn't her Superman. In this Earth, it went differently. But no matter what, just, we're all human at the end of the day, and sometimes we just stigmatize things, and I think she's going to have a little bit of that. So there's going to be some kind of exposition set up with how she's accepting that, probably throughout the first few episodes. And how her mom, this is going to be another thing. I wonder how much Natalie's going to know. Like, her mom, even though it's technically not her mom, but Lois is with the man who lasered her in her universe. So in order for that to work, she might have to know that Clark is Superman, because otherwise, I'm not going to lie, yes, there's the suspension of disbelief thing, but if you look at your mum from this universe now, with a Clark Kent who looks like the guy who lasered your mum, are you really not going to put the pieces of the puzzle together? So I feel like John Henry Irons should be telling Natalie that this Superman is Clark Kent, who happens to be Lois's, technically your mum on this Earth's husband. I don't know, I'm getting a bit of a brain fart now. But yeah, how they're going to deal with that as well, I feel like there might be a little bit of, let me just put it this way, she might be reluctant to get to know Jordan and Jonathan at first, but then she's probably going to really get on with Jonathan or something. And as for Lois, I think it's inevitable that even though technically this isn't your daughter through DNA, even though you're from a different universe, it will probably match. Like, I mean, you're literally birthed from the same genetic being, just for a different universe. So the fact that we had really good scenes last season and where Lois was in therapy for the miscarriage that she had of the girl that she was going to call Natalie with Clark. It's almost weird in a way because it's not technically your daughter, but it's that kind of therapeutic thing where she's probably going to get some catharsis from getting to know Natalie, and vice versa. Like, this isn't my mum, but hey, I'm going to get to know the Lois of this world. I think that's such an inevitability. And then I guess Natalie will only come in helpful for whatever the main plot is going to be. And this is where people are thinking that the villain could have come through a portal like Natalie's, and how Natalie might be able to help deal with that in the grand scheme of things, because she's also really, really smart. There's really a million ways this can go there, but that's at least a provisional storyline I predict for Natalie. So Defunct says, hey Boba, regarding the villain of season 2, they keep saying a villain will be a real headache for Superman. Is Brainiac likely to be who they're referencing with that thought? So initially, if you say someone like, because people are asking about when they bring in Doomsday in or Brainiac, I would have said, especially regarding Doomsday, they're probably going to avoid big villains like that. But at the same time, I think Brainiac is way more likely. So Doomsday, I just feel like, no, like Doomsday is such a typical thing to do with Superman, but they'll do a way of like making it a multifaceted season villain, like kind of Morgan Edge was initially. But what I mean by that is, yeah, we might actually have Brainiac, but then we have the military thing going on, and it provides like a villain for not only Lois, but a villain for Clark, and then a villain almost for like the family combined, but then technically a villain specific for Superman. This is what I mean by how Superman and Lois managed to achieve this multifaceted, antagonistic storyline that bleeds out into a few areas. And that's why I call it, like, it's not the most perfectly written show out of all superhero shows ever to appear to your TV screen, but it is so much better quality than that of your average Arrowverse show. But to address this even more, there is some stuff online about this that I wanted to talk about, and that is, initially, I want to read this out. So Clark fought John Henry Irons and Tal Rowe, who went on to become the Eradicator last season, and according to Helbing, the showrunner, the superhero will face several villains in Superman and Lois Season 2, including one who will prove to be a formidable foe. So this is what I mean, like, Anderson sure could cause some issues, but a formidable foe, I guess you could argue whatever Anderson becomes or turns into or whatever, but I do feel like what I just said was true. There may be multiple in the sense of, as you just said, there'll be several, but yeah, Anderson might be this antagonist for Superman in representation of the world or whatever, but then there's actually a formidable foe, and then there's other things going on. But he told SFX Magazine, the fans are going to know the path we're going down very quickly. And this is kind of what's making me think Brainiac, by the way, through already the kind of interruptions we're seeing with Clark in the trailers. So he says, in a good way, his Superman problem is driving his fathering problems. The more I talk about this particular villain, the more people will figure out who he or she is. Now, to reference that, I think I already know what he means. In a good way, his Superman problem is driving his fathering problems. So I speculated in my trailer breakdown that the Superman problem that he might be experiencing is where Clark is glitching out. Like, what if the reason this could be a national security threat for Clark initially is that Superman is invulnerable, right? Practically, other than kryptonite. But what if he, like his son Jordan, goes through like an unprecedented panic attack for himself? Clark has been through enough stress in the first season, let alone as his career as Superman, in very high stressful situations, working situations, if you will, that to add a representation and iteration to Superman and where he's struggling with an unprecedented panic attack, yes, that could be a national security threat, like in the trailer, as he said that, and where how dangerous could Superman be if he feels like he can't breathe, losing control or something like that. Now, I'm not saying this is the case specifically because Superman might be struggling with some mental health like that, but it could be caused by Brainiac. But the reason why I feel like I'm onto something here is because Todd Helbing, the showrunner, says, in a good way, his Superman problem is driving his fathering problems. Well, fathering problems maybe isn't the route I want to lean into so much, but I did say in my other trailer breakdown video that him having something like this could let him identify with Jordan even more, because Jordan obviously suffers from mental health. That's what they established a lot in season 1. So whether it's like genuine stress causing a panic attack, and I could be wrong about this in the first place, that could be a whammying effect from Brainiac for all we know. I would like to think that maybe it is panic attacks, but something that is caused by Brainiac or something, who knows? I'm not saying Brainiac is the villain, by the way. The reason why I keep referencing Brainiac is because a lot of people are talking about him now. And, you know, as Todd Helbing says here, the more I talk about this particular villain, the more people will figure out who he or she is. Then Todd Helbing goes on to say, however, Superman is up against an adversary who will cause him a lot of trouble, Helbing added. To be honest, there are a lot of bad guys. Clark and Lois are both affected by the villains. Now, this is super interesting because I do feel like he's like talking about one villain there. Maybe it could be Brainiac or whatever, but then the other one, in the latter of what he just said, could be Anderson, the military side of things, and no matter what, it all impacts the story and the family and each character. They go on to say that this season's villains will be pitted against Lois and Clark, according to the showrunner, and defeating them might turn into a family project. We begin with a villain who is more Superman-like while setting up the Lois villain, Helbing explained. They aren't working together this season, but they are passing the ball in a cool manner. One of them takes center stage and, in many ways, outperforms the other. To stop this person, it will take the entire team, which will be different from last year. So to stop this person, it will take the entire team. That could be seen as like a Brainiac thing, but then again, it could be seen that Anderson, whether how far he goes and whether how stubborn and I don't know, his ego is bruised through Superman not being under the grip of his thumb. God knows what military kind of thing he's kickstarted. Maybe he's trying to do a weaponized military task force. He could be going around a cliche route like that against Superman. Who knows there? Especially when you have the military clearance and they're backing you. That could get very problematic and messy, as I was saying at the beginning of this video. So I don't know. I find that very, very interesting. But going back to your question, like, regarding the villain, could it be Brainiac if he'll be a real headache? I do feel like the headache comment could pertain to Anderson because he's causing Superman a headache, saying that he's a liability. He's causing problems for Superman, wanting him to be under his thumb. That could be a headache, do you know what I mean? Figuratively speaking, rather than an actual headache caused by Brainiac. But then again, we do see headache-like moments in the trailer where he's freaking out. So it's really hard to know, but I know whatever they're cooking has me very intrigued. So Morgie39 says, I wonder if the "this is a national security situation" line and the whole "no, this is a family situation" of what Lois says is in reference to Jordan telling Sarah what's going on. So who knows there, really? It could mean a multitude of things. Like, as I said in my previous trailer breakdown, it could mean that if Clark is having mental issues. So let's say he goes into a world-saving situation, whether he's lifting up a bridge or something like the submarine in the trailer, but he has kind of like a panic or anxiety wave. That means he, like, and this is true, even to General Lane or military or whoever, having the Superman have a potential lapse in kind of mental fortitude, shall I say, in a situation where he needs to be really on it could be problematic. He could actually, as Anderson says, become a bit of a liability rather than somebody who could actually help out, as much as I hate to say that. If he can't or is freaking out, he could make the problem worse. But that might not even be the situation, by the way, of whatever's whammying Superman by this submarine at that point, because there is a situation in the trailer where he does get like a bit weird in front of the submarine. But yeah, the national security situation, that is a very good insight there. Yeah, it could have come out that Jordan told Lois and maybe Grandpa Lane overheard that, wow, your son just told his girlfriend that he is a Kryptonian and he's the son of Superman. This is a national security situation because, yes, even though we know as a character Sarah would maybe keep that secret, it's that kind of real-world thing where it's just like General Lane's an older bloke, far removed from the situation, doesn't know or just views her as a teenage girl. So this is bloody very risky. Very risky. How do we know this girl isn't going to, when they break up, say this, that, and the other? So yeah, it could be a variety of things there, but I like thinking down that line. I wonder what it really is, and I'd love your ideas down in the comments. But ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to end this video there. I feel like we got through a nice chunk of stuff to sink our teeth into going into the first episode, which is airing not so long from now. So make sure you do have those notifications on so you do not miss out on the upload, the breakdown. I really can't wait to get into Superman and Lois Season 2. Season 1 was a really good experience for me, so looking forward to chatting about this every single week with you guys. And just let me know about everything that we discussed in today's video. If anything you have to expand upon theory-wise, maybe pertaining to the villain or villains, and God knows where else. But other than that, everyone, click the links in the top pinned comment, because in my top pinned comment I have links to my Twitter and my merch store where you can buy a Boba beanie or hat or whatever you're interested in. It helps support the channel, or even just subscribe. You know, I remind you to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with everything, and obviously liking the video always helps But everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Kryptonians in the next Superman and Lois Season 2 video. Goodbye.